Africa withholds dozens of refined borders, both as a trophy and as a tragic reminder of past power conflicts, territorial disputes, unreasonable treaties, and struggles between ethnicities. However, in the middle of this, there lies a territory with no name, no identity, and only about 600,000 civilians. This is Western Sahara, bordering Morocco and Mauritania. Surprisingly, its lacking identity is actually a result of the most brutal territorial conflicts which involve various stakeholders until this day. The history can be traced back to the late 1900s, when Western Sahara became independent from Spanish forces. Here, the native Sahrawi people formed something called the Polisario Front. Territorial disputes and confrontation regarding decolonization began to rise within three forces: the Polisario Front and Morocco and Mauritania, which are the neighboring countries. With the collapse of the ceasefire agreement in 2020, direct threat to the civilians is at every doorstep. The situation is even more severe with the intervention of Western powers. In July 2022's 14th US-Africa Business Summit, several countries such as Liberia have ratified Morocco's legitimacy and vision. The Polisario Front, only having about 20% influence over the area, is rapidly losing their stance and influence. So with the neglect of the global society, the human rights problems of the civilians have worsened severely.
The Western Sahara problem poses many political and social issues for the global atmosphere and especially in the African region, no doubt. However, something that is also notable is that when elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. As most international issues unravel as time passes, ironically, the ones that actually do the most suffering is the innocent citizens of the countries. The Western Sahara region is a prime example of this, in that the government has fallen completely into chaos and is in basic anarchy. This means that there is no structure to protect and control the citizens who have turned into refugees, and no system to aid the ones who have been injured or killed in the war. For example, the Western Sahara conflict has resulted in severe human rights abuses, such as aerial bombardments with napalm and white phosphorus of the Sahrawi refugee camps, the consequently exodus of tens of thousands of Sahrawi civilians from the country, and the forced expropriation and expulsion of the lands of thousands of Moroccan civilians. Not only adults involved in the disputes of the region, but also children who had no say and no part in the war have had to suffer. With 15% of the population living below the poverty line, the infant mortality rate has been 38%, and for children ages 6 to 15, only 88% of the region's children can be considered as educated.
As this is an urgent issue that needs a prompt solution, there were many international attempts to settle this conflict. For example, the UN Security Council established MINURSO to organize a referendum regarding the autonomy of Western Sahara. And Baker Plan 1 and 2 under UN Personal Envoy James Baker also attempted to settle the dispute between the parties. However, the rigidity of both parties made it difficult to reach an agreement. The Polisario Front rejected any proposal that didn't guarantee their independence, while Morocco wanted to claim the full authority of Western Sahara. Amid this deadlock situation, Morocco's autonomy plan seems to be the light at the end of the tunnel. This proposal respects Morocco's territorial integrity, as well as the native Sahrawi people's cultural identity and autonomy. According to the plan, Morocco will retain sovereignty over the region, such as the national flag and currency. The native population will be given autonomy to run its affairs democratically on their own, with legislative, executive, and judicial bodies enjoying exclusive powers. Recently, countries such as the United States, France, and the Netherlands showed support for the plan, acknowledging it as a realistic and credible one. However, critics argue that countries are supporting Morocco mostly because they want to maintain their economic benefits from trade with Morocco. Also, they point out that the advocates of the plan are being ignorant of the difficulty to convince the Polisario Front, who have been rejecting previous resolutions composed by Morocco. All in all, even the most notable solution to this conflict lacks the full consideration of the issues involved. Therefore, when coming up with a solution, we need to consider the entire situation holistically and be cautious not to exclude any relevant stakeholders. The international community should offer a helping hand, especially towards the innocent and vulnerable Sahrawi natives. And most of all, we ourselves as responsible global citizens should actively recognize the significance of this neglected issue and stay continuously attentive and informed.